What if I told you that thousands of men once chose to face death every single day, not because they wanted toady, but because they had mastered the deepest psychology of courage the world has ever seen? This is the story of the Roman gladiators, and the truth behind why they never feared death. In the heart of ancient Rome, inside the towering Colosseum, tens of thousands of voices roared like thunder, demanding blood, demanding courage, demanding a spectacle that only a few men on earth were willing to give. These men were not born heroes. Many were slaves, prisoners, or desperate souls with nothing to lose. And yet, when they stepped into the arena, they became legends. The sand beneath their feet was stained with the memory of countless battles. The air was heavy with the tension of life and death, and every strike of the sword carried with it a lesson about the human mind. Gladiators did not just fight enemies, they fought fear itself. To survive, they had to strip away the illusions of safety that we cling to every day. They understood something modern psychology is only beginning to reveal, that the fear of death weakens us, but the acceptance of death makes us unstoppable. Imagine standing inside that colossal arena, hearing the crowd chant your name, knowing that in minutes a sword may pierce your flesh. Most people would break, collapse, and beg for mercy. But the gladiator stood tall because in his mind he was already dead. And when you stop fearing the end, you discover the true beginning of life. This is why the Colosseum was not just a battlefield, it was a school of human psychology, a place where the strongest lessons of the mind were carved into history. Gladiators lived by a paradox that terrifies the modern mind. In order to truly live, you must first accept dying. They were trained not only to master weapons, but to master emotions. They used rituals, repetition, and discipline to condition their minds into believing that every fight was a chance to achieve glory, not a risk of losing life. Modern science calls this cognitive reframing, the ability to change the way you interpret reality. To a gladiator, death was not tragedy, it was transformation. The crowd may have come to watch death, but the gladiator's mind was fixed only on the fight, the moment, the movement of his enemy's eyes, the shift of his opponent's feet in the sand. He lived entirely in the present because the present was all he had. This is the psychology of flow, a state where fear vanishes and pure focus takes over. Think about it. How much of our own lives do we waste worrying about tomorrow or regretting yesterday? The gladiator had no such luxury. He was a master of now. And in that mastery, he found a freedom most of us never touch. If you want to break free from fear in your own life, you must understand this truth. Fear lives in the future, but courage lives in the present. And this is why the gladiator, standing face to face with death, could look at the impossible and still rise. And if you too want to rise beyond fear, remember to subscribe to Brain Vibe 360, because this is where history meets psychology to transform your mind. But gladiators were not just individuals, they were symbols for an entire civilization. The Roman people saw in them a reflection of their own desires, their own hunger for power, glory, and survival. Rome itself was built on conquest, on the psychology of never backing down, of fighting even when the odds seemed impossible. To cheer for the gladiator was to cheer for Rome's spirit, the belief that no matter how dark the night, there is always honor in standing unbroken. Psychologists today would call this collective identity, the way groups find meaning through shared struggle. In the arena, the gladiator became more than a man. He became a mirror of human potential. And perhaps this is why his courage still inspires us today. Because deep inside we all fight battles, even if they are not with swords. We fight against failure, against doubt, against the fear that we are not enough. And just like those warriors, the outcome of our battles is decided not by strength of muscle, but by strength of mind. Imagine if you could carry into your own challenges the same mindset as a gladiator, seeing every setback as training, every scar as proof of survival, and every risk as the path to glory. That is the secret Rome teaches us, the secret psychology of the Colosseum. There is also a darker truth to the gladiators' courage. Many of them knew that their life expectancy was brutally short. Few survived for years in the arena. But rather than collapse under despair, they used this knowledge as fuel. They embraced what philosophers later called memento mori, remember that you must die. And instead of hiding from that truth, they wore it like armor. When you live knowing that time is short, you stop wasting it. You stop waiting for the perfect day, the perfect chance, the perfect moment to start living. You realize that every breath is borrowed, every second is a gift. The gladiators remind us of this truth in the rawest possible way. Today, most people are terrified of death, so terrified that they never really live. They lock themselves in routines, trapped by anxiety, worried about opinions, paralyzed by fear of failure. But what if you could live like the gladiator, aware that tomorrow is not promised, yet unshaken, unafraid, unstoppable? That is not just ancient philosophy. That is modern psychology's ultimate motivation. And if you want to awaken that courage within yourself, Brain Vibe 360 is here to guide you. Subscribe now, because every video is a new weapon for your mind. Yet the psychology of the gladiator is not only about death, but about purpose. Every fight was not just survival, it was a chance at meaning. Some gladiators earned freedom, some earned fame, some earned the eternal respect of the people. But the true victory was internal, proving to yourself that you could master fear. Modern motivational science shows us that human beings perform at their peak not when they chase comfort, but when they chase purpose. Comfort makes us weak, purpose makes us strong. The gladiator's purpose was carved into the arena walls, written in every scar across his body, and in every shout of the crowd that echoed his name. What is your purpose? What are you willing to fight for, even if it costs you comfort? Even if it risks pain, even if it demands sacrifice? Because the truth is, we are all gladiators in our own way. Our arena may be a business, a classroom, a battlefield of the mind, or even the silence of loneliness. But the psychology remains the same. To win, you must refuse to be broken. To rise, you must embrace the struggle. To live, you must first conquer fear. And so the lesson of the Roman gladiator survives across centuries, across empires, across the ruins of history. He reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to fight despite it. He teaches us that life is not measured in years lived, but in battles faced and spirit unbroken. And he shows us that when you stop fearing death, you start living fully. So the next time fear whispers in your ear, remember the Colosseum. Remember the warrior who stood in the sand, staring death in the face, and chose not to kneel. That power is not locked in the past, it lives in you. Rise like the gladiator, face your battles with courage, and never let fear write your story. And if you are ready to step into your own arena, subscribe to Brain Vibe 360, because together we will uncover the greatest secrets of psychology and transform them into unstoppable motivation. Like this video, share it with those who need courage, and remember, your mind is your greatest weapon, and this is Brain Vibe 360.